Hey, all my Cancer rising friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about your February 2024 monthly horoscope. This is based on Cancer rising. This will, when I talk about Cancer rising, that's your first house, and this is going to be the basis for the house structure. If you are a Cancer sun or a Cancer moon or a Cancer stellium, that's 3 or more personal planets in any one sign or house. This particular one would be Cancer. This video is applicable to you, but the house structure is based on Cancer rising. This is also whole sign Western astrology based on the Pacific time zone. If you're in another location in the world, please adjust for that. The month starts with Pluto's entry into Aquarius. It's still at that 0 degree. Aquarius is your 8th house of transformation, of other people's money, of inheritances, taxes, of death and rebirth. It also, the 8th house naturally rules sex. It rules a very deep psychological imprint. So that is the 8th house. Now we superimpose the Aquarian energy on that 8th house. So here now we're seeing an opportunity for transformation in the way that you view money, the way you view power and control, the way you view sex, the way you view your power in the world. And Pluto, it rules Scorpio, rules the 8th house naturally. So you've got the ruler of the 8th house. Now, again, this is the Aquarian house, but a very strong Scorpion energy beneath it, because Pluto is adding to that. So over the next 20 years, as Pluto traverses your 8th house, it's offering you a complete renovation in your belief system. It's offering you an opportunity to have your hopes and your dreams realized, manifested on this planet. It's also going to, on some level, require you to be accountable for your co-creation and think outside the box. Cancer by nature is a very nurturing sign. It rules the mother, it rules healing, it rules the family and the home. And here in the 8th house, we're going to see a transformation of that, and in a way that looks to the future, in a way that offers opportunities. Aquarian energy is very humanitarian. It really thinks about the cosmic consciousness and moving humanity's story forward. So this is a real opportunity for you to harness this energy in a way that is intentional. Now, we do see on the first of the month, it is making a square to the moon here in Libra. The moon moves very quickly, so I'm not going to address that as much as I'm going to address the conjunction that Pluto is in with Mercury in Capricorn at the 24th degree. And then we have Mars in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which means that Mars is in its highest energy. It is feeling like a welcome guest in the house of Capricorn, where it gets to kind of sit down and really talk about strategies and acting like a leader and standing in a high vibration. And here, that high vibration is about examining my thoughts, examining my interactions in my everyday world. Are they aligned to what is important to me, to what I want to experience? This house, Capricorn, is naturally your 7th house, which opposes your 1st house. So any planets that you might have right here, we'll see here's the Capricorn energy, but on your wheel, this is the 1st house and Capricorn is the 7th house. So you may find that any professional partnerships you have, any interactions in your everyday life are going up for some sort of review, some sort of awareness of how do I want to interact with not only my intimate partners, but with my partners on a professional level. Am I giving up my peace and harmony, or am I standing in alliance for my peace and harmony? We also see Venus is here in Capricorn, and in this energy of Capricorn, she feels rather serious about building her resources, serious about her relationships. Again, this is your 7th house, and wanting to feel a sense of growth, a sense of expansion. And I say expansion because in that Capricorn energy, as Pluto is transiting it, Pluto is breaking up any stagnation that has been historically repeated in patterns within your relationships, within your perception of your own self-worth in those relationships. So let's jump now over to the 5th of February. Now we see that Mercury, the planet that again rules our everyday activities, our roadways, our escalators, our sidewalks, our thinking, our speaking, our writing, our teaching, our teammates, our workmates, all the interactions, the people you run into when you're doing your errands, as well as your children on some level and your siblings. I say children because Mercury rules children of grammar school, elementary school age. And here it's in a conjunction with Pluto. So this is a time, a few days, I would say, where you're really, because as the conjunction was starting somewhere around 27 degrees, if I'm giving it a 3-degree orb, all the way till Mercury goes to 3 degrees of Aquarius, this influence is quite strong. Thinking and moving forward in my perceptions. What am I speaking about? Am I speaking words that align to what I want to experience, or am I tethering myself to something that is disempowering me? We also see that here now we've got Mars has moved over to the 24th degree of Capricorn, and it's finishing up its exaltation for the next year or two. It won't be back in this sign. I pause there because it will be in high vibration when it's in Aries or when it's in Scorpio. But here, I think what we're starting to see is a real bravery at looking at how I self-care. Venus is now at the 16th degree, which is the Cancer degree of nurturing. And what do they say when you get on a plane? Put the mask on you if there's a problem so that you can save your loved ones. And this is what I think is going on within the transformation of the Cancer energy. On the 9th, we're going to see a new moon. And I'm going to put the time up for that because I think this is we saw in January, that we had a 20-degree new moon. And we're going to see that again this month. And this time, this new moon is in Aquarius. That 20th degree is that scorpionic degree of transformation. Here we see Cancer rising at the time of this new moon. And this is your 8th house. So here's Pluto still at that 0 degree, that ingress degree of birthing a new dynamic, a new sense of self, a new sense of power. We see now during the new moon that Mercury is at the 7th degree, which is the Libra degree of balance, harmony, cooperation. And we see this new moon planting the seeds in the dark of night in order to learn or practice trusting faith and nurturing from a place that I cannot see. We see this new moon making an aspect to Uranus in Taurus. And Taurus is your 11th house of hopes and dreams. It's the natural house. 11th house is the Aquarian house. So this is kind of interesting because Uranus is the Lord of Aquarius. And here we see Taurus being grounding this Uranian energy, wanting to really rewrite a story that no longer serves me. We see this 19th degree, which is the Libra degree, in the sign of Taurus, meaning Taurus rules my personal history with my family, how I was nurtured, how I perceive my self-worth. So there's an opportunity to start to transform what may have felt unpleasant or felt like it was tethering you to an old story. This is now an opportunity to shift that into a tool that supports your highest vibration. We also saw, which I meant to mention and I skipped, is this south node, the trine to the south node. The south node represents our soul's habit of belief, habit of thought, habit of action. And here in the sign of Libra, it is in the sign of cooperation, giving up for the peace and the harmony of others. So this supporting energy, while it may seem jarring as Uranus sort of gives you potentially an emotional epiphany, you could have a mental epiphany, you could have a physical epiphany that liberates you from something that has brought you down or tethered you to a lack of feeling your own self-worth. And I think this is important because we see this 17-degree south node is the Leo degree of having courage, following my heart, trusting my inner knowing. So I think that's really important. All right, now let's go on to the 13th, where Mars will be joining the Aquarian energy. We see here on the 13th, Mars has just entered Aquarius and it is joining Pluto. These two are the co-rulers of the 8th house of Scorpio. Mars being the ancient ruler, and in modern times, and it's not been that long since I believe 1977, Pluto has ruled Aquarius, the 8th house. This is powerful, and it is powerful in a way that could potentially bring something on into your experience. I'm sorry, didn't mean to do that. Hold on, I'm trying to get off the Mars thing. What I believe we're seeing here is a potential of some kind of on the world stage, seeing some kind of liberation, some sort of rebellion, some sort of disruption. I really don't want to go straight to the idea of WAR, but there is the potential that somebody has had, I feel like a country of some kind has had enough of whatever nonsense, and there's going to be some sort of liberation. I don't know if I think this is really applicable to the individual Cancer people, but rather something that you will observe that I think through that observation could potentially anchor in a desire to live life on your own terms versus acquiescing to old rules and regulations that may not be serving your highest and greatest good. We also see Venus in a growing conjunction to Pluto. So first we've had, our mind has been we've re-examined our childhood experiences. We've probably walked through a little bit of anger and frustration. And now we're going to get to really liberate our self-worth and potentially start to claim our own financial resources in a way that's more succinct and more I want to say, because we planted the seeds in the new moon, but I feel emotionally potentially more rooted in the things that I want to build. And in looking at both Capricorn and Taurus rule history. So I really want to look at my history the experiences I've created for myself, the experiences I was given in my childhood, and rather than trying to release them or rewrite them, I want to integrate them and sharpen them to be the tools that help me cut through the nonsense and live a more conscious and intentional path to my future. Because that's what Aquarius represents, is your future. Okay, now let's move over to the 16th, where Venus will be in her exact conjunction to Pluto, and Mars is still very much in the mix. So this is really probably for my Cancers, I believe there's the potential that there is a sense of liberation about the push-pull in your life. The push is Mars, action out. Venus is more reception in. And here there may be an examination on a psychological level about two sides of yourself. And you may be even asking yourself, how open am I to actually receiving the things that I want, the bounty, or do I inadvertently feel that I must give back for everything that's given to me? And I don't want to make it a tit for tat thing, but there's a feeling of, when I'm intuiting this right now, there's a feeling that Cancer, when is given to them without them reciprocating in some way, they feel uncomfortable. And I think part of the nodal structure right now is about allowing yourself to receive without feeling the need to match or even to give back more than you have received. I think this is really important. We see here Chiron at the 16th degree. We see the North Node in the very independent Mars-ruled Aries at the 16th degree. And then we see the South Node at the 16th degree. That's all the Cancerian degree of healing, nurturing, self-nurturing, intuition. And while the nodes are always in opposition, and the South Node always represents habitual thoughts and habits, something our soul is very familiar with, we're stretching here to experience that North Node in Aries. And this is where I believe this Chiron, the wounded healer, in conjunction with this could be very challenging for my Cancers, because Aries naturally squares Cancer. So you're feeling a sense of, I want it to be about me. Isn't that selfish? Aren't I being selfish? Aren't I, sort of ignoring my obligations, ignoring the people that are important to me? And yet at the same time, I can't help but think they may feel a sense of inspiration by your individual thought, by your expressing yourself out there from a heart place, that if you have to, put yourself first, they're applauding this idea because it's in some ways nurturing them to do the same thing. So I think that's really important. I also think that there is the potential of a lot of, with Mercury is in a very strong square to Uranus at this time, and will be in an exact square in a day or so. And then that will continue on. So there could be something very unexpected that happens as a result of your interior examination or your interior emotional inventory and standing up for yourself. You could find yourself experiencing something you didn't expect, because we see a trine here now to this individual energy of this North Node in Aries. And, we don't talk much about Chiron when we talk about the transformation of Chiron, how the wound becomes the gift. And here, I believe that's very, very possible, because Chiron's moving forward. So here, this review of who and what I want to be, that it actually serves the people I love to express my individuality so that I can inspire them as I move forward. And then here, this tension could potentially be where, again, Mercury rules young people, everyday activities, our siblings, our anything that has to do with your daily life. So the square may be that you're having to put some of that aside, or you're choosing to put some of that aside so that you can birth a new version of what you want to experience in a more fun and liberating way. Now let's go to the 18th. I'm going to click off of Mercury. Oh, shoot. Sorry. I'm going to do it over here. Let's go to the 18th. I'll make sure I'm there. Okay, now when we get to the 18th, we see that the sun has entered Pisces. Oh, it's almost there. We've got this set at I think I put it back at noon. No, I'm still at 2. I'm going to keep this at noon because that's kind of the general time when we're not looking at something for a specific client. But we will see by the end of the day, the sun will have entered Pisces, and it will be in a growing conjunction to Saturn. We also see that we're still feeling the effects of the Pluto-Mars Venus conjunction. I think that's something that we, if we're gentle with ourselves, the epiphanies that come through could actually feel very inspiring. Let's go to the 24th, where we're going to see a full, let me go to the 23rd, where we're going to see Mercury enter Pisces. Now, this is lovely because Mercury has had all these thoughts and interactions with its everyday activities right now. We see this exact conjunction at 8 degrees. This is another Scorpion degree. So we're going to see some kind of epiphany, revelation, awareness that gives me an inspiration to start to emotionally connect that me as a Cancer, my wants, my desires, my self-care, my nurturing of my emotional body, rather than taking action on obligation or duty, is going to support the people that I love. And I think that as you move into, or as Mercury moves into Pisces, we're going to see much more spiritual inspirations. And I say that because I feel like the Pisces energy up here is offering a coagulation, an integration, a wisdom that might not have been there if I hadn't walked through what I experienced during the January, while all these planets were going through the galactic center. And then as they move through, these planets are moving through Venus, Mars, Pluto, moving through Aquarius. Now I'm starting to think in a dreamy way of how I can connect with spirit and then really put those concepts into the physical world, start to build them. That's why I'm circling Saturn here. Okay, now let's go on to the 24th. The next day, we're going to have a full moon in Virgo. Let me get to that time. That will be at 4:30 a.m. Pacific time. And the full moon is always an opposition between the moon and the sun. And here the sun is at 5 degrees of Pisces, conjunct both Mercury and Saturn. And in its opposition to the moon, this is where we're in the brightest phase of the moon. The 5th degree is the Leo degree. This is about having courage of the heart. This is about understanding that my self-expression, my unique self-expression, the child within me, the things that I want as an individual. Again, I want to emphasize sort of, this isn't about the collective. This isn't even about how your family perceives what your wants and desires should be. This is the little kid inside that dreams of being Buzz Lightyear or Princess Leia or a Disney character, and giving life to the idea that if you can dream it, you can experience it. And this is where I feel like the Virgo moon is not so much asking me to go into action, but to start to give life to the idea that Virgo is the virgin. It's ruled by that energy, and that energy is by nature a journeyer, somebody who is unfamiliar yet garnishing more and more experience as they traverse that sign before they go into the sign of partnership. I know Virgo rules your work life, it rules your health, it rules your pets, it rules your mental process and your analysis. And so what I'm thinking here is that as you, rather than trying to be a perfectionist, because Virgo can be a little bit, stretching for the impossible, which is, I believe, perfection. Here's where the journey becomes one of wisdom, where the ups and the downs start to make sense, and I delineate where I'm feeling mental stress because I'm not following my heart, or I'm feeling, enslaved to a job I don't like because I'm not allowing my own individual downtime, relaxation, rest, whatever it is for you as a Cancer to feel replenished and feel a sense of exhilaration that comes from the inside and then moves out into the world. I think that's a really important thing. We also see here that now Venus is in a square to, and Venus and Mars are in a square to Jupiter. This is where you may be feeling some conflict about your renovated beliefs. The square is, for me, is always sort of two sides of myself, one which I react on, one which I'm used to, a habitual way of thinking. Doesn't mean the thinking works for me. It just means I'm used to it. Then I have on the other side of the square these awarenesses that I'm stretching for, that I'm not used to, that I want to feel more ease. And there's sort of this going back and forth between what was and what can be. And this is very much what I think is going on here. Normally, people think that Venus and Jupiter, even in square, get along well, but we've got this Mars energy here. And I think that's really kicking it up, saying, are you willing to be an individual? Are you willing to sort of take that history that Taurus represents, where you've been, and renovate it? Renovate it. Don't try to release it, because that's not easy to do. And here's that trine again. It's very loose now, but it's still in play. Being able to recognize sort of my old habits and not villainizing them, but rather just saying, okay, that awareness gives me an opportunity to make a new emotional choice before I move on to a physical choice. So I think this is going to be very much focused in on. I think that Saturn can in many ways here represent moving on from that history, because we see Saturn's conjunct at 9 degrees, which is Sagittarius. That's giving me an opportunity to expand on that history. Again, I, as an individual, Teri Hunter, cannot really just forget things happen to me. So I want to turn them into a tool that empowers me. And here Saturn is in a great great sextile to Jupiter. So here, this is where we can start to see the reward side of Saturn versus always feeling as if Saturn is bringing in some kind of repressed and depressing energy. So I think this is super powerful. On the 28th, let me go back to the 12 o'clock time. We are rounding out to the end of the month. This happens to be a leap year. So we will see on the 28th, the Sun, Saturn, and Mercury are in a conjunction. This is super powerful to me. We see Pisces as your 9th house. Here it's the 10th house because we're looking at a Gemini rising. But I think between the what you've garnished from all the energy in Aquarius in your 8th house, now you're renovating those beliefs, and they're starting to work for you. We're seeing this beautiful trine to Jupiter. It's a growing trine. We see here Mercury, which rules my childhood and my childhood education, my childhood everyday experiences, as well as everyday experiences anyway. But we see this growing, the sextile feeling very supportive of the expansion of the potential monkey mind that Mercury can have. And here we see this, here's Jupiter that rules Sagittarius, and here's the Sun conjunct Saturn at the Sagittarian degree. So I'm starting to allow myself to take that history and have it turn into something that allows me to stand in leadership for my own life, my own transformation. And just because we don't get to do it very often, let's look at the 29th. And we see here on the 29th, we see we're still having this conjunction between Saturn and Mercury and the Sun. We see that Pluto has moved into the 1st degree of Aquarius. And I think that this is important because this is where we're revisiting something that when Pluto was in Aquarius, those 1st degrees of Aquarius in 2023, we got a glimpse of it. Now we're going to see it even more powerfully. And I believe that in many ways for you, this is again a renovation of some kind of deep imprint on your soul, something where there's a habit of thought that is so ingrained within you that you may not even realize it's a habit. You may think this is just being realistic. This is just being, living on the planet Earth. But if we trust, or if we believe and we trust that the laws of the universe rule our planet, then the law of attraction becomes a very valuable tool. The law of ebb and flow, the law of compensation, all these divine laws that when we focus on them and experiment with them, then we have an opportunity to flourish in times where others are not. Or we have times, or we can experience things like living our own hopes and dreams and not feel a sense of somehow. Sometimes when we flourish, we feel a sense of shame, as if other people will not love us if we're thriving. And I kind of feel like Cancer, because you're such a nurturer and you're such a family person and you rule the mother. I mean, what does a mother do her whole life? But basically, once she gives birth, it's always about the family, always about the children. So here, I believe that this month is teeing up an opportunity for you to start to integrate the wisdom of your own self-care, your own dreams, your own intentions, and how that could represent for those around you, almost like a carrot, offering them here, come chase your dream too. We can be dream chasers together instead of dream catchers, although those are fun as well. All right, well, that's it for my Cancer rising, moon, sun, and stelliums for the month of February 2024. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. Please join me Sunday mornings live at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we do angel readings. We pull a tarot card and we get the angel's advice for traversing the week ahead's transits. Also, if you'd like to book a reading with me, I am available. My information is below. You can send me an email and I will send you all the pertinent information. All right, Cancer, have a wonderful February 2024.